قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فهل عسيتم إن توليتم أن تفسدوا في الأرض وتقطعوا أرحامكم أولئك الذين لعنهم الله فأصمهم وأعمى أبصارهم أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم ثبتنا عند الموت بلا إله إلا الله اللهم اجعلنا من الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين يا رب العالمين. One of the descriptions Allah gives of the Quran, describing itself and the way that the Quran operates, He says, Kitabun uhkimat ayatuhu, a book, the ayat, the verses, the teachings, the lessons of which were stitched together. So the meanings of the word ihkam are thinking like weaving or stitching. And when you think about weaving and stitching, it's multiple colors, multiple strands, and they're all intertwined with each other. If you look at one string or one kind of material, it's a completely different material, and a different kind of silk or a different kind of wool, it's a different kind of material. But a good tailor can actually take two very different materials and design something beautiful with them. You would not think that those two things go together, but the artist or the tailor knows how to put those two things together, and the final product is a work of art. Those of you that are in any kind of artistic field, if somebody's a cook, cooking can be an art. If somebody's cooking and somebody comes and says, why are you putting this much salt? Why are you putting this? Why are you putting this spice? Just leave me alone. You'll see the final product. Just, you don't know what's going on. Okay, because in the middle of the process, you might not see what the final product is. The same way if somebody's painting, why'd you use that color? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I'll show you at the end. Just, this is my process. Because you cannot see how someone, an architect, a painter, a cook, people that design things, people that build things, you don't know the map that they have in front of them, right? You don't have somebody's a designer or an interior designer or something. They go to an old house, they destroy everything. They destroy all the walls. They destroy the kitchen. They destroy everything. And then you're like, why did you do that? This is messed up now. So some people can't visualize what it's going to be in the future. And then when they see the final product, they're like, wow, that's incredible, right? So the thing with human beings is you have to have a long-term vision to be able to see how things come together. Now, the reason I'm giving you this example is because a lot of times we study Allah's book, and we study Allah's book in isolation. So we'll look at an ayah from this surah, we'll look at another ayah from another surah, we'll look at some hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and we look at them sort of in isolation, right? Or nowadays, because we have search tools available and we have so much data mining available, so you could say, I want to look up all the places in the Quran that talk about one subject, right? So you can do a search and you can find all these different ayat from different surahs in the Quran that are similar, or they're talking about the same subject, and you feel like, okay, now I know what Allah has to say about this topic because I know I have all of these ayat, which has its own benefit. But one of its disadvantages is Allah stitched that ayah in a surah. He put it in a certain surah. It was part of a larger painting. It was part of a larger divine work. You know, every surah was, the architect of every surah is Allah. And you know, like every brick in this building is part of a larger design. Every ayah of a surah is part of a larger design. And so even though we learn from a single ayah, and you can compare to another single ayah, something is missing when we don't look at what surah does it belong to. Why was it put over here? Why not take all of the ayat that talk about the same subject and put them all in one surah and be done with it, right? We don't get that in the Quran. You don't get like a surah called the Surah of Taqwa, and all the ayat of Taqwa are there, done. You don't have to deal with Taqwa anymore. This subject is complete. If you want to learn about that anymore, go back and refer to that. You know, if you read another textbook and you're learning about some topic and the author wants to remind you of something they talked about before, they say this has already been covered in previous chapters, and they'll put a little they'll put a little mark, and at the bottom, you're just going to see, oh, refer back to chapter 2. Go to this page or go to that page. In fact, even Mufassirun do that. When you're reading a tafsir of a surah and Allah talks about something, and they've already done tafsir of a similar ayah before, they'll say, قَدْ سَبَقَ ذِكْرُهُ. This was talked about already. You can go back there and read what I wrote. I'm not going to write that over again.